So, about this year's Oscars, I think this year was actually way better than last year's iteration of the Academy Awards. All of the 10 Best Picture nominees were actually legitimately great, even Maestro to the greatest extent. So, let's just leave it at that in terms of the best picture quality over quantity. Now, as for my post reaction to this year's ceremony, I have a few thoughts and disbeliefs about what happened now that it's completely over, but I'm here to dissect everything from all the narrative changes to all my predictions. So this is my post-Oscar analysis, so yeah, sit back and relax and enjoy the show. So before I actually get into my post-Oscar analysis for this year, I actually want to shout out a bunch of movies that were either dead on arrival or were just dead along the season. I want to start with Naiad, which, as you can tell, was one of the most fakest biopics to come out this year. The type of movie that would have won over in the past couple years, but is now basically the thing of the past. And you can basically say the same with Air and Rustin, even Maestro to the greatest extent. I mean, both of them were also formulaic biopic dramas that failed to take anything throughout the season. I actually can't wait to see what Bradley Cooper does next with his campaigning. Maybe he can become the ghost of some historical figure the next time around. So the next ones I actually have are actually basically the real ones that I categorized as them. It's sort of a pain to say that these obituaries are terrible or dead, but it's unfortunate that it actually happened this year. The competition was just way too strong, to the point where a lot of these movies were just completely left in the dust, mainly because of the sheer weight of the season. So I have to go RIP to Past Lives. My boy John Mangaro, dude, we're out here, we're crying our eyes out. Legitimately, I think he should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor or even Best Actor if the category was too big enough. RIP to All the Strangers. This is completely homophobic, and the Academy will rue the day for not letting at least Andrew Scott take the Best Actor nomination away from Bradley Cooper. Also, shout out to May December. In another dimension, Charles Melton is the winner for Best Supporting Actor, but I guess we have Robert Downey Jr. now. And RIP to The Iron Claw. That's another one that should have been a front runner for Best Picture, but I blame A24 for releasing it last year. It actually should have been released next year in the 2025 season, with Zac Efron potentially taking the Best Actor nomination away from everybody else. But here we are, and yeah, that's mostly my IPs and my memoriams to a lot of movies that were so good, but they missed the mark. Which actor deserves to win? Which creator is overdue for an Oscar? Which actor will make history at any ceremony? All of this applied to this year's season, and it's been about the thing in the past and also in the present and in the near future. It's always been a thing since its inception. This year was all about the matchup between Lily Gladstone and Emma Stone. Both won at the Golden Globes in their respective categories, and by the way, the Golden Globes actually fucking cooked this year. They had the balls to go full international wing with their picks, and I'm glad they took all of the criticisms about leaving out international cinema to heart. But with Gladstone and Stone winning at the Golden Globes, the race immediately heated up. It doesn't help that Gladstone wasn't nominated at the BAFTAs, as you can tell, which was pretty much a big factor in Stone winning at the Oscars. The overlap was surprisingly strong between BAFTAs and the Oscars, but more on that a little bit later. But for now, yeah, once Gladstone took the SAG award for Best Actress, the room was already set on completely her winning the Oscar, and then Stone took the win at the tail end. So what actually happened? My first instinct is judging the performances between Gladstone and Stone. There was much heated debate about this early on in the season when the studio decided to push Gladstone into the leading. Gladstone's role in Killers of the Flower Moon is both leading and supporting, in a sense where her presence is looming across the narrative. But she disappears for mostly in the second half of the film, with her just being in the bed the whole time. Meanwhile, Stone is fully in lead and is the face of Poor Things. So that is one of the factors into why Stone won her second Oscar compared to Gladstone. Secondly, the passion for Poor Things was just too damn high. It actually peaked in the last coming weeks as it was released on streaming and VOD. The general public actually had a chance to sit down and watch the movie at their own pace. And also, Poor Things was the second most nominated film out of the bunch with 11 nominations. Killers of the Flower Moon with 10 overall. So when Poor Things started to take a bunch of below the lines awards earlier in the night, I thought to myself that Emma Stone might actually take the award from Gladstone, since the Academy seems to love Poor Things more than Killers. And I was right. Although I went with Gladstone solely for the SAG win correlation, it actually seems like the BAFTAs had an influence this year with other nominations, as I'll get to a little bit later. But that's just another factor in Stone's win. The publicity behind Poor Things, as how controversial it takes its liberties towards nudity and feminism, was basically the talk of the town. Killers' long runtime and unfortunate box office returns caused Poor Things to take the mantle in the public eye. And yeah, obviously, again, poor box office shouldn't be dictating the entire race, but that's how it is. And at the end of the day, both performances were monumental in their own right. And I actually hope Gladstone can bounce back with another banger performance. She was truly a great one in this category. It's also worth noting that earlier in the season, people were putting stock on Bradley Cooper to finally take it for Best Actor. But with all of the cultural shifts in terms of media, we can finally rest easy that the Oscar baity performance can be defeated. If there's enough passion for the other side, I should say, that other side was Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. And I mean, listen, man, I was actually one of those people who believes that Murphy can take the gold all the way home through. And there was one time I thought Murphy might lose it, and it was when Paul Giamatti took it for Best Actor at the Critics' Choice. But as we saw later in the season, that didn't really mean jack shit. Giamatti's chances would have been either the BAFTAs or the SAGs. Again, I think Giamatti's chances would have been either the BAFTAs and the SAGs, but he lost both times over there. So when Murphy started to surge, I actually went down with this prediction. There were some pundits that believed that Giamatti might have taken it no matter what, and I could see that with the Academy being sometimes traditional with their picks, but man, Oppenheimer was just way too strong for it to lose an acting award, let alone an acting award that hinges completely on being the face of the film. So when Murphy took it, I was actually really elated and excited to see this win. It's truly one of the most all-timer performances that I've seen in my life, and I think Giamatti has another chance next time around, and I can totally feel it. He's working again with Alexander Payne with his next film, so it could actually happen. I kind of side-eyed people who believed that Cillian was going to lose it because of his performance being very subdued for the Academy's own tastes, but I'm glad that I stuck out with Murphy in the end. Other narratives that I can think of right now is Christopher Nolan's Overdue narrative. Here it was actually really strong and legit because of the weight of Oppenheimer's chances throughout the season. Nothing came close to defeating it, not even Poor Things, The Holdovers, American Fiction, or even Barbie, the latter in which I'll highlight later on why that failed to take any above the line awards. But yeah, nothing stopped Oppenheimer in its tracks, and nobody stopped Nolan from getting his coveted Best Director award. It's another well-deserved win, as he should have been nominated for The Dark Knight back in 2008 for Best Director. But his snub in 2008 actually helped the Academy change their tone and expand the Best Picture category to 10 slots. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. The same overdue narrative applies to Robert Downey Jr. I thought earlier in the season he would have been challenged by either Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things or Charles Melton in May-December, but both of those outcomes never actually happened, the latter in which should have actually happened. I mean, my dog Charles Melton was left in the dust after his Golden Globe nomination. RIP to that. But I think RDJ's performance in Oppenheimer was really great, and he did in fact disappear in that role for quite some time. So it makes total sense for RDJ to win in the Best Supporting Actor category, as he just left his time from the MCU, and it was really nice to see him move in a certain way and a change of pace compared to playing just Tony Stark for the millionth time over and over again. But that's basically it with the narrative side of this year's season actually. So here are some great points on why I think this season was way better than last season's. Earlier in the season, when the Golden Globes were the first televised ceremony, I actually thought to myself that the Golden Globes would actually translate down to the rest of the Guild's Critics' Choice bodies, but it seems like it was not the case this year, as the Golden Globes actually reflected more on the inspired choices compared to the Critics' Choice Awards, surprisingly. The CCAs actually went more reactionary and influencer culture baity type of compared to other awards bodies, and I mean this was the same awards body that nominated Saltburn for nothing else but Best Picture. and some text despite it being well beloved in a lot of internet circles, including me. They were pretty unserious this year. So when the BAFTAs and SAGs both went in a traditional and inspired route, I was accustomed to the change. Granted, I was still hope-dicting Charles Melton and All of Us Strangers to show up anywhere else other than the Globes, but that hope quickly died as Melton didn't show up anywhere else, and All of Us Strangers was basically left in the dust, and it was completely Jover when it came to the BAFTAs. So the big analysis for the Precursor overlapping came from the BAFTAs this year. A few reasons why this happened was because of the European bloc of the Academy, which seems to have more of an upper hand in terms of determining their choices. I think this year was probably the most apparent with that analysis. The Academy has been more diverse in inviting more international countries into the mix. Taken for example the Parasite win, which opened the floodgates. And with Anatomy of a Fall escaping the French jury pick, they had the upper hand with Best Picture, Actress, OG, Screenplay, and Editing. The BAFTAs actually went out their way and chose the Zone of Interest for not only the Best Outstanding British Film, but also the Best International Feature and Best Sound. That Best Sound win actually helped the betting odds for that film at the Oscars upon arrival. This was the only category that I contested as All Guts and No Glory, and I was right when it won at the Oscars. So shout out to Jonathan Glazer and the gang for a fantastic win and speech at the Oscars. They said everything that was said about the current warfare state in the world today, so I thank Glazer for sticking to his guns throughout the whole season. And so yeah, that was one of the reasons why I think the BAFTAs correlated with the Academy this year. The overperformance of Poor Things with the Craft wins at the BAFTAs correlated with the Academy this year. Production design, makeup, and even costuming went to Poor Things, even when Barbie was contested to win either one of those awards. It also seems like Barbie fever died down after the Golden Globes, as it only secured Best Song for Billie Eilish. Despite the backlash in the public space with Greta Gerwig losing out her Best Director nomination, I actually thought Gerwig would have taken it with Best Adapted Screenplay just because of the uproar. But once American Fiction started to take all of the Best Adapted Screenplay awards, even at the BAFTAs, as it was the only thing nominated, it was basically over for the Barbie gang. I gotta shout out to The Boy and the Heron for taking the Globe, BAFTA, and Oscar trifecta. I would have thought Spider-Verse would have taken it, but it seems like the alleged poor working conditions for the animators in the previous film winning Best Animated Feature factored into The Boy and the Heron winning everything it could. I'm happy about this because this solidifies Hayao Miyazaki's legacy as one of the greatest auteurs of our time. So yeah, suck it, Lord and Miller. Again, that's actually one of the other reasons why the BAFTAs took the upper hand this year in terms of Precursor correlation. So yeah, that's basically it. That's all the factors into why I think the season was very monumental and actually helped a lot in terms of the BAFTAs and other awards bodies. And yeah, like this year was just fantastic with the movies. All 10 of them were just amazing in their own right. And I can't believe the other movies that I mentioned in my memoriam were snubbed, but it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I will be tracking the next year's race with steady eyes and ears. Hopefully this year's award season or next year's award season will be even more chaotic and more insane than last year's. I hope you guys enjoy this video and give a like, a comment. You guys can just like debate in the comment sections whether or not which film is the best or not. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Take care.